The giant white ship moved slowly through space like a peaceful whale swimming in an endless ocean. The Healing Dawn was 3 times bigger than most warships, but it carried no weapons. Instead, its massive hull was filled with hospital beds, operating rooms, and medical equipment. Red crosses painted on its sides glowed bright against the darkness, telling everyone in the galaxy that this was a ship of healing, not war. Dr. Lisa Martinez walked through the main medical bay, checking on her patients. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the hum of life support machines. Around her, doctors and nurses from Earth worked on patients that looked nothing like humans. Some had blue skin and 4 arms. Others had scales instead of hair. A few breathed different gases and needed special masks. "How is the Alterian child doing?" Lisa asked Nurse Kelly Davis, who was adjusting an IV drip for a small creature with large purple eyes. "Better," Kelly replied with a tired smile. "The infection is gone. She should be able to go home in 2 days." Kelly had been working for 16 hours straight, but she never complained. None of them did. This was what they came here to do. Lisa nodded and continued her rounds. The Healing Dawn had been in the Kepler sector for 6 months now. 2 alien races, the Zephyrians and the Korathi, had been fighting a war over some mining planets. The fighting had been going on for 3 years, and thousands of civilians were caught in the middle. When Earth heard about the suffering, they sent the Healing Dawn to help anyone who needed medical care. The ship's captain, Jake Sullivan, appeared on the medical bay's speaker system. "Dr. Martinez, please report to the bridge. We have an incoming transmission." Lisa made her way through the ship's white corridors. The Healing Dawn was built to be a place of peace and healing. Everything was clean and bright. Soft music played in the hallways to keep everyone calm. Pictures of Earth's oceans and forests decorated the walls, reminding the crew of home. The bridge was smaller than a warship's command center, but it had everything they needed. Captain Sullivan stood at the main console, his gray hair neat despite the long hours they all worked. He was a good man who had volunteered for this mission because he believed in helping others. "What do we have, Captain?" Lisa asked. "Communication from the Zephyrian fleet," Sullivan replied. "Their commander wants to speak with you directly." The main screen flickered and the image of a Zephyrian appeared. Commander Vextar looked like a tall human, but his skin was silver and his eyes were completely black. When he spoke, his voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Dr. Martinez," the alien commander said, "we need your help. Our forces were attacked 2 days ago. We have 300 wounded soldiers who will die without immediate medical attention. Can you help us?" Lisa didn't hesitate. "Of course, Commander. Send us your coordinates. We'll be there as fast as we can." "Thank you," Vextar said. "I know. Some of the patients you are currently treating are Korathi. This makes your kindness even more meaningful to us." After the transmission ended, Captain Sullivan looked at Lisa. "Are you sure about this? The Korathi might not like us helping their enemies." "We're doctors," Lisa said firmly. "We help everyone who needs help. That's what we do." Sullivan nodded. He understood. The Galactic Medical Neutrality Accords made it clear that medical ships could treat anyone without taking sides in a war. Both the Zephyrians and Korathi had signed these agreements years ago. "Alex," Sullivan called to Communications Officer Alex Turner, a young man with red hair and freckles. "Send a message to both sides. Tell them we're going to help wounded Zephyrians. Make sure they know we're still neutral." "Yes, sir," Alex replied, his fingers moving quickly over his console. Dr. Ryan Brooks joined them on the bridge. He was the ship's best trauma surgeon, a man who could save lives even when things looked hopeless. "I heard we're taking on 300 new patients. Are we ready for that?" "We'll have to be," Lisa said. "How many patients do we have now?" 412, Ryan answered. "Most are stable, but about 50 are still critical. It'll be tight, but we can do it." Lisa felt proud of her team. The Healing Dawn carried 2,400 medical personnel from Earth. They were doctors, nurses, technicians, and support staff who had all volunteered to come to this dangerous part of space. They could have stayed home, working in safe hospitals on Earth or the colonies. Instead, they chose to risk their lives helping strangers. The ship began to turn toward the new coordinates. Lisa watched through the bridge's main window as stars slowly shifted position. Somewhere out there, 300 beings were dying, and only the healing dawn could save them. "Doctor," Nurse Kelly's voice came through the communication system. "We're getting the trauma bays ready. How long until we reach them?" 6 hours, Captain Sullivan answered. "Make sure everyone gets some rest before we arrive. It's going to be a long day." Lisa returned to the medical bay to help prepare. The trauma teams were already working, setting up extra beds and checking their equipment. Some of the alien patients who were getting better offered to help make room for the new wounded. Lisa was amazed by how different species could work together when they focused on helping others. Dr. Martinez stopped by the bed of a young Karathi soldier who had lost his arm in a battle 2 weeks ago. His reptile-like skin was healing well, and his bright yellow eyes followed her as she checked his chart. "Doctor," the soldier said in broken English, "I hear you help Zephyrian wounded soon." "That's right," Lisa replied. "Does that bother you?" The soldier was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head. "You saved my life. You save all lives. This is a good thing." As the hours passed, Lisa felt the familiar mixture of excitement and nervousness that came before a big operation. 300 patients meant 300 families somewhere hoping their loved ones would come home. It meant 300 lives that depended on her team doing their job perfectly. The Healing Dawn's engines hummed quietly as they traveled through space. The ship passed by destroyed space stations and the wreckage of battle fleets. The war between the Zephyrians and Karathi had been brutal. Entire planets had been evacuated. Millions of beings had become refugees. 2 hours until we reached the Zephyrian fleet, Captain Sullivan announced. Lisa gathered her senior staff for a final meeting. The conference room was small but comfortable, with a round table that could seat 12 people. Around her sat the people who made the Healing Dawn work: Ryan, Kelly, Alex, and 8 department heads. "This is going to be our biggest challenge yet," Lisa told them. 300 trauma cases all at once. We'll need to work in teams and triage carefully, save who we can save, and don't waste time on hopeless cases. It was harsh, but it was reality. With limited resources and time, they had to focus on patients who had the best chance of survival. "What about security?" asked Chief of Staff Nancy White. "Some of our current patients are Karathi. Some of the new ones will be Zephyrian. What if they cause trouble?" "They won't," Lisa said confidently. "Wounded people just want to get better and go home. They don't have energy for fighting." Captain Sullivan's voice came through the speakers. 1 hour to destination, all medical teams to stations. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. Soon the real work would begin. 300 lives hung in the balance, and her team was their only hope. The Healing Dawn continued its journey through the darkness, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of everyone who believed that healing was more important than fighting. She had no idea that this routine medical mission would soon change everything for humanity forever. The Healing Dawn slowed down as it approached the meeting point with the Zephyrian fleet. Through the bridge windows, Captain Sullivan could see the silver shapes of Zephyrian warships waiting in the distance. Their hulls were damaged from recent battles, and some ships were missing entire sections. The war had been hard on both sides. "I'm getting readings from the Zephyrian ships," said Lieutenant Tom Carter from the sensor station. 3 heavy cruisers and 5 destroyers. They look pretty beaten up. Dr. Lisa Martinez stood beside Captain Sullivan watching the alien fleet. She could already imagine the wounded soldiers inside those ships, waiting for help that only the Healing Dawn could provide. Her medical teams were ready and the trauma bays had been cleared for the incoming patients. "Alex, send a message to Commander Vextar," Sullivan ordered. "Tell him we're ready to begin transport operations." Communications Officer Alex Turner worked at his console, sending the signal. A few moments later, the main screen showed Commander Vextar again. The Zephyrian leader looked tired, and Lisa could see worry in his black eyes. "Dr. Martinez, thank you for coming," Vextar said. "We are preparing our wounded for transport. Many are in critical condition. Without your help, they will not survive." "We're ready for them," Lisa replied. Our transport shuttles are standing by. As the first shuttle prepared to launch from the Healing Dawn, Alex suddenly looked up from his console with a worried expression. Captain, I'm picking up new ships on long-range sensors, a large fleet approaching fast. Sullivan moved to the sensor display. The screen showed 8 red dots moving toward them at high speed. Can you identify them? Working on it, Tom said, his fingers dancing over the controls. After a few seconds, his face went pale. Sir, they're Karathi ships, a full battle group with heavy weapons. Lisa felt her stomach drop. The Karathi were the enemies of the Zephyrians. If they found the Healing Dawn helping Zephyrian wounded, there could be trouble. But medical ships were protected by galactic law. No one was supposed to attack healers. How long until they get here? Sullivan asked. 20 minutes at their current speed, Tom answered. Captain Sullivan turned to Alex. Send an immediate message to the approaching Karathi fleet. Tell them who we are and what we're doing here. Make sure they understand we're a protected medical vessel. Alex's hands moved quickly over his console. Message sent, sir. I'm broadcasting our medical identification codes on all frequencies. The bridge fell quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Everyone waited for a response from the Karathi fleet. Lisa hoped they would understand that the Healing Dawn was neutral. The ship had treated Karathi wounded before. They had no reason to see humans as enemies. Incoming transmission, Alex announced. It's from the Karathi flagship. The main screen changed, showing a Karathi officer. Admiral Theckamore was a large being with dark green scales and bright red eyes. Unlike the other Karathi that Lisa had treated, this one looked angry and dangerous. When he spoke, his voice was like a growling animal. Human vessel, Admiral Theckamore said. You are in violation of Karathi space. You will stop your operations immediately and leave this system. Captain Sullivan stepped forward. Admiral, this is Captain Jake Sullivan of the Earth medical ship, Healing Dawn. We are conducting authorized medical operations under the Galactic Medical Neutrality Accords. We have the right to treat wounded beings regardless of their species or politics. The Karathi Admiral's red eyes seemed to glow brighter. I know what you are doing, human. You are helping our enemies. You are giving aid to Zephyrian soldiers who will return to fight against us. This makes you our enemy too. That's not true, Lisa said, moving beside Sullivan. We're doctors. We save lives. We've treated Karathi wounded before. We don't take sides in your war. You chose your side when you came here, Theckamore replied coldly. No human vessel will aid our enemies. You have 10 minutes to leave this system, or we will consider you a hostile force. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Lisa couldn't believe what she had just heard. Medical ships were sacred. Even in the worst wars throughout galactic history, no one attacked healers. It was against every law and moral code that civilized beings followed. Captain, Alex said urgently, the Karathi fleet is changing formation. They're moving to attack positions. Sullivan looked at the tactical display. The 8 Karathi ships were spreading out, surrounding the area where the Healing Dawn and the Zephyrian fleet waited. It was a classic attack formation. Can we run? Asked Dr. Ryan Brooks, who had joined them on the bridge. No, Sullivan replied grimly. Our engines are built for efficiency, not speed. Those Karathi ships are twice as fast as we are, and we can't abandon the Zephyrian wounded. Lisa thought about the 400 patients already aboard the Healing Dawn. They were from dozens of different species, including some Karathi. There were children in the medical bays, civilians who had been caught in bombing raids, elderly beings who just wanted to go home to their families. Alex, send another message to Admiral Theckamore, Sullivan ordered. Tell him we have Karathi patients aboard. Remind him about the medical neutrality laws. I'm trying, sir, Alex replied, but they're not responding to our signals anymore. The Zephyrian fleet began moving away from the Healing Dawn. Commander Vextar appeared on the screen again, his silver face full of regret. Dr. Martinez, he said, we cannot fight a full Karathi battle group with our damaged ships. We must retreat. I am sorry we cannot protect you. Go, Lisa told him. Save your people. We'll be okay. but she wasn't sure they would be okay. The Zephyrian ships jumped to hyperspace. The Healing Dawn was left alone with the approaching Karathi fleet. 5 minutes until they reach weapons range, Tom reported. Captain Sullivan activated the ship's communication system to speak to the entire crew. This is the captain. All medical staff should continue with their duties. We are a protected medical vessel under galactic law. The Karathi cannot legally attack us. But Lisa could hear the doubt in his voice. Laws only worked when people followed them. Dr. Martinez, Nurse Kelly's voice came through the intercom. Should we move the patients to the safest parts of the ship? Lisa thought about it. Moving critical patients could kill some of them, but if the ship was attacked, they might die. Anyway, move anyone who can be safely moved to the interior sections. Leave the critical cases where they are and stay with them. Captain, Alex called out, the Karathi ships are powering up their weapons. Through the bridge windows, Lisa could see the distant flashes of light as the enemy ships charged their plasma cannons. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. This couldn't be happening. No one attacked medical ships. No one attacked healers. Send a distress signal to Earth, Sullivan ordered. Tell them what's happening here. Alex worked frantically at his console. Signal sent, sir, but it will take weeks to reach Earth. 2 minutes to weapons range, Tom announced. Sullivan looked at Lisa. Doctor, you should get to the medical bay. Your patients need you. No, Lisa said firmly. My place is here. If this ship dies, we all die together. The bridge crew worked at their stations, trying everything they could to avoid the coming disaster. But the Healing Dawn had no weapons, and no place to run. All they could do was wait and hope that the Karathi would come to their senses. 1 minute, Tom said quietly. Lisa thought about all the lives aboard the ship. The human doctors and nurses who had volunteered to help strangers. The alien patients who trusted them to keep them safe. The children in the pediatric ward who still believed that adults would protect them. Admiral Theckmore's voice came through the communication system one last time. Human vessel, this is your final warning. Leave now or face the consequences. Captain Sullivan grabbed the microphone. Admiral, we are a medical ship protected by galactic law. We have wounded beings aboard who will die if you attack us. We have done nothing wrong. You chose to help our enemies, Theckmore replied. That was wrong enough. The Karathi fleet opened fire. Lisa watched in horror as bright plasma bolts streaked through space toward the Healing Dawn. The ship's weak defensive shields flared and collapsed under the first impact. Alarms began screaming throughout the ship as sections lost power and atmosphere. Hull breach on Deck 7, Tom reported, his voice shaking. Medical Bay 3 is venting atmosphere. Seal the emergency doors, Sullivan ordered. All damage. Control teams to their stations. But Lisa knew it was hopeless. The Healing Dawn wasn't built to survive a military attack. The second wave of plasma bolts punched through the hull in 17 different places. She could hear the sound of metal tearing and air rushing out into space. Dr. Martinez to all medical staff. She said into her communicator, stay with your patients. Protect them as long as you can. The ship shook violently as more weapons. Fire struck home. The lights flickered and went out, replaced by the red glow of emergency power. Through the bridge windows, Lisa could see pieces of the Healing Dawn floating away into space. Captain Sullivan activated the ship's final transmission system. This is Captain Jake Sullivan of the Earth medical vessel Healing Dawn. We are under attack by Karathi forces while conducting protected medical operations. They are firing on a hospital ship with 400 patients aboard. The message from the Healing Dawn traveled through space for 3 weeks before it reached Earth. When it finally arrived at the communication center in Geneva, the technician who received it thought there had been a mistake. Medical ships didn't get attacked. It was against every law in the galaxy. Admiral Kate Morrison was eating breakfast in her apartment when her personal communicator buzzed with an emergency signal. She was the head of Earth's defense fleet, a job that usually involved protecting trade routes and dealing with pirates. Real wars were something humans read about in history books. Admiral Morrison here? She answered. Ma'am, you need to get to headquarters immediately, said Commander Gary Foster, her chief of staff. We've received a priority message from the Kepler sector. It's about the healing dawn. Kate felt her stomach tighten. She knew Captain Sullivan and Dr. Martinez personally. They were good people who had volunteered for a dangerous mission to help others. What kind of message? You need to see it for yourself, Admiral. It's bad. 20 minutes later, Kate sat in the main conference room at Earth Defense Headquarters. Around the table were President Dan Carter, Secretary of Defense Amy Walsh, and a dozen other senior officials. The room was completely silent as they watched Captain Sullivan's final transmission. This is Captain Jake Sullivan of the Earth Medical vessel Healing Dawn. We are under attack by Karathi forces while conducting protected medical operations. They are firing on a hospital ship with 400 patients aboard. The recording showed the bridge of the Healing Dawn shaking as weapons fire hit the ship. Kate could see the fear in Sullivan's eyes, but also his determination to get the message out. Tell Earth what the Karathi did to healers. Tell them we died trying to save lives. The transmission ended with static. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Kate had served in the military for 30 years, but she had never felt anger like this before. The Karathi hadn't just attacked a ship. They had murdered healers. President Carter was the first to speak. How many people were on that ship? 2,400 medical personnel, Admiral Morrison replied, plus about 400 patients from various species, all dead. Secretary Walsh leaned forward. What are our options? Kate looked at the data pad in front of her. Earth's military was scattered across 24 star systems, protecting colonies and trade routes. Most people thought humans were peaceful explorers who avoided fighting. They were about to learn how wrong they were. We can recall the fleet, Kate said. All of it. Every ship, every crew, every weapon we have. How long would that take? Carter asked. 6 weeks to get everyone back to Earth. Another 2 weeks to organize and plan. Then we can move. The president was quiet for a moment. He was a good man, who had always believed in solving problems through talking rather than fighting. But some things couldn't be solved with words. Do it, he said finally. Bring them all home. Within hours, emergency messages went out to every human ship in space. Captain Linda Hayes of the exploration vessel New Horizon was mapping a nebula near the edge of human space when she received her orders. All ships returned to Earth immediately. Operation Hippocratic Oath is now active. This is not a drill. She had never heard of Operation Hippocratic Oath, but the priority code meant it was more important than anything else she might be doing. She ordered her ship to turn around and head for home. The same message reached Captain Bob Miller of the cargo ship Free Trader as he was delivering supplies to a mining colony. It reached Commander Sarah Fox of the patrol ship Vigilant as she chased pirates near the Outer Rim. Every human vessel in space got the same order. Come home now. Dr. Steve Parker was in his office at Earth Medical Services when he heard about the Healing Dawn. He had trained Lisa Martinez when she was a young doctor. He had recommended her for the mission to Kepler sector. Now she was dead, along with everyone he had sent with her. Steve walked to the Global Assembly building in New York, where representatives from every human colony were meeting in emergency session. The Great Hall was full of angry voices as people tried to understand what had happened. The Karathi Federation has committed an act of war against humanity, announced Assembly President Carol Wright. They have murdered our healers and violated every law that governs civilized behavior. Dr. Parker asked for permission to speak. As the head of Earth's medical services, everyone knew and respected him. The hall grew quiet as he walked to the speaker's platform. I sent those people to help others, he began, his voice shaking with emotion. Dr. Lisa Martinez was one of the best doctors I've ever known. She could have stayed on Earth, working in a safe hospital, making good money. Instead, she chose to risk her life helping strangers in a war zone. He paused, looking out at the hundreds of faces watching him. The people on that ship weren't soldiers. They weren't politicians or warriors. They were healers. They took an oath to do no harm, to save lives regardless of who those lives belonged to. The Karathi killed them while they were trying to save Karathi patients. The hall was completely silent now. Steve's voice grew stronger as he continued. There is no forgiveness for this. There is no excuse. There is no negotiation. The Karathi Federation has shown that they are enemies of everything decent and good in this galaxy. They must be stopped. When he finished speaking, the Assembly voted unanimously to support military action against the Karathi Federation. All trade with Karathi space was banned. All diplomatic relations were ended. Any Karathi ships found in human space would be seized or destroyed. The news spread quickly through human space and beyond. The galactic community was shocked. Humans were supposed to be peaceful. They were explorers and traders, not warriors. Most alien species expected Earth to file a formal complaint with the Galactic Council and maybe ask for money to replace their destroyed ship. They didn't understand humans at all. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center at Luna Station, watching as ships arrived from across human space. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, support vessels, and even converted civilian ships came pouring into the Sol system. It was the largest gathering of human military power in history. Captain Pete Jackson brought his heavy cruiser, Retribution, in from the frontier worlds. Commander Helen Torres arrived with a squadron of destroyers from the inner colonies. Captain Ron Phillips came with the new medical ship Second Chance, built with heavy armor and armed escorts to make sure what happened to the Healing Dawn would never happen again. The shipyards of Earth and Luna worked around the clock, converting merchant vessels into troop transports and supply ships. Weapons factories that had been making mining equipment suddenly switched to building missiles and plasma cannons. Every human world contributed something to the growing fleet. General Karl Weber led the ground forces. His Marines were tough soldiers who had fought pirates and dealt with colonial uprisings, but they had never been in a real war. That was about to change. "How many ships do we have now?" President Carter asked during a briefing at the White House. 800 and counting, Admiral Morrison replied. "More arriving every day. When we're done, we'll have the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled." "And the Karathi?" "Intelligence says they have about 600 ships spread across 12 star systems. They're confident, sir. They think humans are too weak to fight back." Carter nodded grimly. "They're about to learn different." The alien news network started paying attention when human ships began gathering at Earth. Reporter Zendal of the Galactic Broadcasting Network interviewed various experts about what humans might do. "Surely the humans will seek a diplomatic solution," said Professor Crixton, a political scientist from the core worlds. "They are known for being reasonable and peaceful. They will probably ask for compensation and an apology." "I agree," added Ambassador Veltar from the neutral zone. "Humans don't have the stomach for real war. They'll make some noise and then go back to their exploring and trading." But there were a few voices that disagreed. Commander Zekmore, a retired Alterian military officer, had fought alongside human soldiers against pirates. "You don't understand humans," he told the interviewer. "They seem peaceful because they choose to be peaceful. But when you cross certain lines, when you attack their healers or their children, they become something else entirely. The Karathi have made a terrible mistake." As the weeks passed, more and more human ships arrived at Earth. Admiral Morrison had to expand the fleet anchorage twice to fit them all. The sight of over 1,000 human warships gathered in one place sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Karathi leadership finally began to take notice. Admiral Thekmore, the one who had destroyed the Healing Dawn, gave an interview to Karathi state media. "The humans are trying to frighten us with a show of force," he said confidently. "But we are not afraid. Our fleet is experienced and battle-tested. These humans have never fought a real war. When the time comes, they will run back to their safe little worlds." He was wrong about that too. On a cold morning in December, Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, looking out at the massive fleet spread across space. Ships as far as the eye could see, all waiting for her orders. Each one carried crews who were angry about what had happened to the Healing Dawn. Admiral Kate Morrison walked through the command center of her flagship, the massive battleship Terra's Wrath. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at their stations, planning the largest military operation in human history. The ship was 3 times bigger than any vessel Earth had ever built before, rushed into service just for this mission. Through the main windows, She could see the human fleet stretching out in all directions. 1,200 warships floated in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of Sol. Each ship carried crews who had volunteered to avenge the healing dawn. Many of them had friends or family who served on medical ships. "Admiral," said Commander Gary Foster, approaching with a data pad, "the final ship groups have arrived. We're at full strength." Kate took the pad and looked at the numbers: battleships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers, support vessels, troop transports, and mobile hospitals. Everything humanity could build, buy, or convert had been gathered for this one purpose. "What's our intelligence on Karathi positions?" she asked. "They're spread across 12 star systems," replied Captain Ellen Brooks, the fleet's intelligence officer. "About 600 ships total, but they're not concentrated. The largest group has maybe 80 ships." Kate nodded. The Karathi had made a classic mistake. They thought their scattered positions made them harder to attack. Instead, it meant they couldn't help each other when the humans came. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Thekmore sat in his command chair aboard the Karathi flagship, Destroyer of Hope. His red eyes glowed with satisfaction as he watched the news reports about the human fleet gathering at Earth. "Look at them," he said to his second-in-command, Captain Cricksdall. "Over 1,000 ships, and they think that frightens us. Quantity means nothing without quality." "Should we recall our scattered fleets?" Cricksdall asked. "If the humans do attack, we could concentrate our forces." Thekmore laughed, a sound like metal scraping stone. "Let them come. Our ships are battle-tested. Our crews have been fighting for years. These humans have never seen real combat. When they face experienced Karathi warriors, they will break and run." The Karathi admiral turned to address his bridge crew. "Send a message to all fleet commanders. Tell them to maintain current positions. When the humans arrive, we will destroy them in detail, one group at a time." Back at Earth, the final preparations were almost complete. Captain Maria Santos walked through the corridors of her battleship Righteous Fury, checking on her crew. The ship's name had been chosen specifically for this mission. Everyone aboard felt righteous fury about what had happened to the healers. "Captain," called Lieutenant Dave Wilson from the weapons control room, "all guns are loaded and ready. We've got enough ammunition to level a planet." "Good," Maria replied. "We're going to need it." She continued her inspection, visiting the Marine barracks where General Carl Weber was giving his soldiers their final briefing. The troops were volunteers from every human world, united by their anger over the attack on the healing dawn. "Remember," Weber told them, "we're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting to make sure no one ever attacks human healers again. We're fighting to show the galaxy that there are consequences for murdering doctors and nurses." The Marines cheered, their voices echoing through the ship. These weren't professional soldiers who fought for money or glory. They were citizens who had volunteered to defend the principles their civilization stood for. In another part of the ship, Dr. Nancy Roberts prepared the medical bay. She had been friends with Dr. Martinez, and the loss still hurt. But she had volunteered for this mission because someone needed to care for the wounded when the fighting started. "This time we'll be protected," she told her staff. "We've got armor plating, defensive shields, and a squadron of fighters just to guard the medical ships. No one will attack healers again." The medical ship Second Chance was the largest hospital vessel ever built by humans. Captain Ron Phillips had designed it himself after hearing about the healing dawn. It carried the best medical equipment Earth could make, and enough weapons to defend itself against a battle fleet. Intelligence officer Nick Coleman worked in the fleet's command center, analyzing everything they knew about Karathi forces. His job was to find weaknesses the human fleet could exploit. "Their biggest advantage is experience," he reported to Admiral Morrison. "They've been fighting the Zephyrians for 3 years. They know how to work together in battle." "And their weaknesses?" Kate asked. "Overconfidence," Nick replied. "They think humans are weak because we've avoided major wars. They also think their scattered formation protects them. It doesn't." Kate studied the tactical display showing Karathi positions. "How long before we're ready to move?" 48 hours, answered Chief of Staff Commander Lucy Hayes. "All ships report ready for combat operations." The news of Earth's military buildup had spread throughout the galaxy. Most alien species watched with interest, wondering what humans would actually do. The Galactic Council called an emergency session to discuss the situation. "The humans are clearly preparing for military action," announced Council President Zarthon, a wise being from the core worlds. "This could destabilize the entire sector." "Perhaps we should offer to mediate," suggested Ambassador Veltar. "Surely, this can be resolved through negotiation." But the Zephyrian representative, Commander Vextar, shook his head. "You don't understand what the Korathi did. They didn't just attack a ship. They murdered healers who were trying to save lives. In human culture, healers are sacred. There will be no negotiation." The council debated for hours, but they couldn't agree on what to do. Some wanted to condemn the Korathi attack, others worried about human military power. In the end, they decided to do nothing and hope the situation would resolve itself. Meanwhile, Korathi propaganda broadcasts filled their home systems with confident predictions. Admiral Thekmore appeared on every channel, assuring his people that the human fleet posed no real threat. "We have destroyed their medical ship," he declared. "We have shown them that we are not afraid of their threats. When they come to fight us, we will send them running back to their peaceful little worlds." The broadcasts showed images of Korathi warships and veteran crews. They talked about glorious victories against the Zephyrians and the weakness of species that valued healing over fighting. What they didn't show was the growing fear among some Korathi leaders who understood what was coming. General Mortex, the Korathi Ground Forces commander, met privately with several other senior officers. Unlike Thekmore, he had studied human history and knew about their capacity for warfare. "We made a mistake," he told them quietly. "Attacking their healers was like attacking their children. They will not stop until we are completely destroyed." "What do you suggest?" asked Admiral Krevnor, commander of the Second Fleet. "Surrender," Mortex replied. "Surrender now, before they arrive. It's our only chance." But the other officers wouldn't listen. They had been told for years that humans were weak and peaceful. They couldn't imagine that a species of healers and explorers could threaten their mighty empire. Back in the Sol system, Admiral Morrison called her final staff meeting aboard the Terra's Wrath. The main conference room was packed with ship captains, marine commanders, and support staff. These were the people who would lead humanity's first major war in centuries. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kate began, "in 24 hours, we will depart for Korathi space. Our mission is simple: destroy every Korathi military vessel and installation. We will continue until the Korathi Federation surrenders unconditionally or ceases to exist." Captain Santos raised her hand. "What about civilian targets?" "We don't target civilians," Kate replied firmly. "We're not like them, but any ship or base that supports their military is a legitimate target. We will show them the same mercy they showed our healers." General Weber stood up. "My Marines are ready, Admiral. We'll take their military bases and hold them until you decide what to do with them." "Good," Kate said. "Remember, everyone, we're not just fighting for revenge, we're fighting to make sure this never happens again. We're fighting to show the galaxy that attacking human healers has consequences." The meeting ended with final preparations and last-minute intelligence updates. As the officers left to return to their ships, Kate remained behind with her closest advisors. "Any second thoughts?" asked Commander Foster. Kate looked out at the massive fleet one more time. She thought about Dr. Martinez and Captain Sullivan, about all the medical staff who had died trying to save lives. She thought about the message they had sent, asking Earth to remember what the Korathi had done. "None," she said firmly. "It's time to go." The order went out to every ship in the fleet. "All vessels prepare for hyperspace jump. Destination: Korathi space. Operation Hippocratic Oath begins in 6 hours." Across the fleet, engines powered up and weapons systems came online. Crews took their battle stations and said prayers for the friends they were about to avenge. The largest military force in human history prepared to show the galaxy what happened when someone attacked healers. In the Korathi home system, long range, sensors detected the massive hyperspace disturbance as 1,200 human ships jumped toward their territory. Technicians stared at their displays in disbelief, unable to process the size of the approaching fleet. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of angry metal hornets. 1,200 ships appeared simultaneously across 8 different Karathi star systems, their weapons already charged and targeting systems locked on. Admiral Kate Morrison watched from the bridge of Terra's Wrath as her carefully planned attack began. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Operation Hippocratic Oath is now active. You attacked healers. You murdered those who save lives. Now you face the consequences." The Karathi defenders were caught completely off guard. Their ships were scattered across their territory, never expecting humans to attack so many places at once. In the outer rim system of Corax Prime, Captain Maria Santos led her battle group against a Karathi patrol fleet. "Target their engines. First," she ordered her weapons officer. "Disable them, then destroy them." The righteous fury opened fire with all weapons. Plasma bolts and missile volleys struck the lead Karathi ship, tearing through its hull like paper. The enemy vessel tried to return fire, but human shields absorbed the damage easily. "Their weapons are weaker than expected," reported Lieutenant Dave Wilson. "Our armor is holding fine." Within minutes, the entire Karathi patrol was either destroyed or floating dead in space. The human ships moved on to their next target without slowing down. In the industrial system of Karathi Beta, General Carl Weber's Marines stormed the main military academy. The same facility that had trained Admiral Techmore now burned as human soldiers captured every building. "Secure all data files," Weber ordered his troops. "I want to know everything about their military structure." The Karathi cadets and instructors surrendered quickly when they saw the size of the human force. They had been trained to fight other aliens, not the disciplined fury of human Marines seeking justice for murdered healers. Captain Ron Phillips brought the medical ship Second Chance to each battle zone, treating wounded humans and providing aid to anyone who needed it. Unlike the defenseless Healing Dawn, his ship bristled with weapons and moved under heavy escort. "We're still healers," he told his medical staff. "We'll treat Karathi wounded too if they surrender and ask for help." But few Karathi asked for help. Most fought until their ships were destroyed, unable to believe that peaceful humans had become such efficient killers. The systematic destruction of the Karathi Federation continued for 6 days. Human forces moved through their territory like a tide of steel, crushing everything military they found. Karathi attempts to regroup failed as human intelligence officers predicted their movements and struck first. Captain Ellen Brooks, the fleet intelligence officer, coordinated the attacks from her command ship. "Their third fleet is trying to rally at Karathi Gamma," she reported to Admiral Morrison. "Should we intercept?" "Send Captain Santos and her battle group," Kate replied. "Make sure none escape." The battle at Karathi Gamma lasted less than 2 hours. The reformed Karathi Third Fleet, 80 ships strong, met Santos and her 90 vessels in what should have been an even fight. Instead, it became another massacre. "Human ships are too advanced," Admiral Krevnor reported to his flagship bridge, as his fleet died around him. "Their shields are stronger, their weapons hit harder, their crews fight like demons." His ship exploded moments later, taking the admiral and his crew with it. News of the human advance spread panic through Karathi. Space. Civilian populations fled from military bases and shipyards, knowing that human forces destroyed anything connected to the Karathi war machine. The government tried to maintain order, but their own military was collapsing too quickly. On the 7th day, the human fleet reached the Karathi home system. Admiral Morrison brought the full weight of her forces against the heart of the enemy empire. Facing her were the remaining Karathi ships, about 200 vessels led by Admiral Techmore himself. "Human fleet," Techmore broadcast from his flagship, "I offer you terms for surrender. We will pay compensation for your destroyed medical ship. We will sign agreements never to attack healers again. Surely this is enough." Admiral Morrison's response was cold and final. "You had your chance for mercy when you faced the Healing Dawn. You chose to murder healers instead. There will be no terms, no negotiation, no mercy. Surrender unconditionally, or be destroyed." The final battle began at dawn on the 8th day. The Karathi home fleet fought desperately, knowing they were facing the end of their civilization. But human technology, human training, and human fury combined to create an unstoppable force. Captain Helen Torres led her destroyer squadron against the Karathi flanks, while battleships like the Righteous Fury hammered the enemy center. The Terras, Wrath engaged Admiral Thekmore's flagship directly, the two massive ships trading fire at close range. "Target their bridge," Morrison ordered. "I want Thekmore to see this coming." The Terra's Wrath's main guns fired in perfect synchronization. The massive plasma bolts punched through the Karathi flagship's shields and armor, striking the command section. Admiral Thekmore had just enough time to realize his mistake before his ship exploded. With their leader dead and their fleet shattered, the remaining Karathi ships tried to flee. But human vessels surrounded the entire system. There was nowhere to run. "This is Captain Torres to all Karathi ships," Helen broadcast. "Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic law. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed." One by one, the surviving Karathi vessels powered down their weapons and surrendered. The battle for the home system was over. On the planet below, the Karathi government met in emergency session. President Morketh, the civilian leader, knew his military was finished. General Mortex, one of the few senior officers to survive, confirmed what everyone already knew. "Our fleet is gone," he reported. "Every major base has been captured or destroyed. The humans have won completely." "What do they want?" asked the president. "Unconditional surrender," Mortex replied. "Complete disarmament. The end of the Karathi Federation as a military power." The vote was unanimous. The Karathi government surrendered to avoid further destruction. Admiral Morrison accepted the surrender aboard the Terra's Wrath. The Karathi delegation was led by General Mortex, who had been one of the few to understand what attacking the Healing Dawn would mean. "We surrender all military forces to Earth Command," Mortex said formally. "We accept full responsibility for the attack on your medical ship." "Your military will be completely disbanded," Morrison told them. "Your weapons will be destroyed. Your territory will be placed under Earth protection until we decide you can be trusted again." "And Admiral Thekmore?" asked the general, though he already knew the answer. "Dead," Morrison replied. "He paid for his crimes with his life." The terms of surrender were harsh but fair. The Karathi Federation ceased to exist as a military power. Their ships were scrapped, their bases occupied, their weapons destroyed. But civilian populations were protected and treated well by human occupation forces. Dr. Nancy Roberts established field hospitals on captured Karathi worlds, treating both human wounded and Karathi civilians who needed medical care. The contrast with what had happened to the Healing Dawn was not lost on anyone. "We're still healers," she told her staff. "Even in war, we save lives when we can." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity demonstrated the consequences of attacking healers. The Zephyrian Empire sent congratulations and offered to help with the occupation. Other species began reviewing their own policies toward human medical ships. 6 months after the surrender, Earth launched 50 new medical vessels to replace the Healing Dawn. Each one was named after a crew member who had died in the attack. The flagship was the Dr. Lisa Martinez Memorial Hospital, protected by enough firepower to destroy a battle fleet. Captain Bob Wilson, commanding the Martinez, received the same orders that Captain Sullivan had carried: provide medical aid to anyone who needed it regardless of species or politics, but this time human healers would not go unprotected. "Remember the Healing Dawn" became the motto of Earth's medical fleet. It reminded everyone that humans would forgive many things, but attacking healers was not one of them. The story of Operation Hippocratic Oath spread throughout the galaxy. Alien military academies began teaching courses about human warfare and the dangers of underestimating peaceful species. The attack on a single medical ship had resulted in the complete destruction of an interstellar empire. Admiral Morrison returned to Earth as a hero, but she took no pleasure in the victory. At the memorial service for the Healing Dawn's crew, she spoke to thousands of mourners. "They died doing what humans do best," she said. "Healing, helping, saving lives without asking for anything in return. Their sacrifice reminded us that some things are worth fighting for, and some crimes can never be forgiven. The memorial listed all 2,400 names of the medical staff who had died. At the top, in large letters, were the words, "They were healers. They saved lives. They will not be forgotten." In the years that followed, no one ever again attacked a human medical ship. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their military, but their absolute commitment to protecting those who heal. The lesson echoed across space. Never, ever, attack those who save lives. The consequences would be swift, total, and without mercy.